The next thing we're going to look at is the wrapper classes. The wrapper classes are interesting. They're mostly behind the scenes kind of thing. So wrapper classes example. And let's see here, public static void main string args. We can look at the documentation and how do we get there? And the documentation is actually not that hard to find. So if we go, for example, okay, we'll just go there from the beginning, Java 8 API, and then let's go ahead and look for the integer class. So the integer class, we'll start at the beginning. And the integer class exists just like the double class or the byte class or the character class or any other primitive has its own wrapper class. The wrapper classes exist, well, for the idea of extending the functionality of the primitive types. So, for example, one of the most useful ones is max value. A constant holding the maximum value an int can have, 2 to the 31st minus 1. So let's go ahead and print that out. System, not typing, system out print line, and then integer dot max value. There we go. And because of the nature of the fact that this is the biggest value of an integer, it can't be any bigger. So I print it out. That's it. That's the whole thing. In fact, int we're going to say num equals integer dot max value. If we have that num right there, that will be holding our 2.14 billion. Well, let's increase that size. We'll say num plus plus. How do you increase the size of something that's already the biggest you can get? So system out println num. So what we'll do is we'll print this out before and after. I'll just type out num here. Okay, so num is given the biggest integer value you can possibly get, and then we're going to print that out, and then we're going to add 1 to it. So this right there will print out the biggest value you can get, and this will be 1 more than the biggest, which is kind of impossible. So let's print out. This is the biggest, and this is 1 more than the biggest. This is a problem called integer overflow. And basically, if you add more than it's capable of holding, then it goes back to the smallest value and keeps going. Integer overflow is a security problem. It's a common hack, and you should definitely be aware of it. So if we take something as the biggest value already, and then we add 1 to it, then it becomes the smallest right there. The other interesting things that we can do with the double class or the integer class, we've already seen a little bit, and that, if we go back to the documentation, is this one, integer.valueOf. Returns an integer object holding the value of the specified string. Okay, so let's have a string. Let's suppose we got this from a file, we got this from the keyboard, wherever. I'm going to say string equals 2. Now as we recall, system out println, if we add str plus maybe the value of 3, we are not going to get 5 because 2 is a character, it's not a number, so it's a string of characters. In this case there's only 1, but we have a 2. 2 plus 3 will not become 5, it will convert this number, this integer, into a string and concatenate them together. We've seen that before, so we have a 23. What we really want is for this to be converted, so we'll say int num string equals integer dot parse int, and we'll pass in string, and then what we'll do here is we will then add the converted string to 3, and we should now get a 5. And there it is. So what are these wrapper classes that we have? Like, for example, the integer wrapper class. All they are is a lot of extra functionality that's added so that the primitives, and by long, short, double, float, character, and boolean, these have more functionality than is previously given. So we have all sorts of um, like certain things, these static final constants. So we have maximum, can't get bigger than that, minimum value, can't get smaller than that, and you can create them, you can change them, lots of different things that you can do with them. So that's what the wrapper classes are for, simply to extend the functionality of the primitive data types.